Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and to another stock market update. Before I get into any of this crap, just please remember, none of this is financial advice. All of this is just my opinion. I'm just trying to share with you guys what I am seeing in the overall market. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you guys that left me comments this last week. There were some pretty decent charts and there's some really nice stuff that I definitely added to the watch list. Just thanks again for letting me know about this stuff, because there is just so much stuff going on in the market right now. There's no way I can catch it all. But anyway, let's get into the overall market. I'm going to start off with the QQQs, or the NASDAQ, like I always do. And everything that's going on with the NASDAQ pretty much pertains to like the Dow and the S&P. I mean, they vary a little bit, but for the most part, they kind of move together. But looking at the QQQ, in my last video, I was talking about, when the NASDAQ was making this little double doji pattern right here, I was thinking we were going to get a big, nasty red candle right afterwards. So I was thinking this big, nasty red one was going to follow these two dojis, but as you can see, we got a little bit of a head fake for one day, and then the market rolled over. Now, when the Qs ran up to this white line right here, the 8-period exponential moving average, I was telling myself that I wanted to definitely get some SQQQ calls to protect my downside. But man, they were talking about how, just heard from several different articles, sources, whatever you want to call it, that probably there's going to be good news coming out of Jackson Hole from the Fed, so I just held off on it. I was like, you know what, this might not be the best time to go short, even though the charts were telling me, since we fell below all of these moving averages and we were rising slowly up to that 8-period exponential moving average on very light volume, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get short. But I didn't anyway. It is what it is, and we had that nasty down day. So where do we go from here? I'm still thinking that this trend line is going to offer us some pretty decent support. As we can see, we got the 50-period simple moving average right in that area as well. So I think this should probably be a decent area for at least a short-term trade. Now, with how nasty this red candle is right here, I think it's going to be highly unlikely that we just get a complete about face in the market and just start an uptrend from here. So when the market does come down this area, I'm probably going to take a short-term trade, probably buy some call options on the TQQQ and try to just catch a intraday move. Maybe it might even last for a day or two before it probably rolls back over. Just by the way this chart is looking, it's just making me think that we're going to have some more downside, and eventually, the 50 period and this trend line are probably going to get taken out. But definitely want to be long, at least for a short-term trade once the market comes down. Number one, you got that 50-period simple moving average, and you got this trend line. Usually the fourth touch on the trend line tends to be a pretty decent short-term trade. So I'm going to stick with my gut and actually, trade the chart instead of up here, going with what I was hearing on TV and on the internet saying that, there's probably going to be several up days in a row following Jackson Hole, because that is not what happened at all. But looking over at the weekly chart, you can see that the chart itself is still overwhelmingly bullish as far as I am concerned. You've had all these up days in a row, these up weeks in a row, I should say. We've had 2 down weeks, and this chart could easily turn back around and start heading higher. But we could also end up taking out these lows as well. So kind of have to protect against that. But as far as where the chart is right now, we'll cross that bridge if we break these trend lines and start heading lower on a bigger volume. As far as the way this this pattern is looking right now, I think I still want to have some upward bias. And you can see that volume is really starting to taper off. If we go back to the daily chart, you can see even though this was a big, nasty down day and there was some pretty darn good volume, you can see the volume is still quite light compared to some of the other big selling days that we've had in the QQQ during this downtrend. So I don't know, volume could be starting to exhaust itself to the downside. But let's take a look at the IWM, which of course is the Russell. And you can see basically the same thing. Got up to around the 200-period simple moving average, had a little bit of a failure, and now we're starting to roll over again. So, the big question is, are we going to get down into this area and then get a reversal? I mean, that's the direction I am leaning right now. We'll have to see how the market looks once we get down into this area. But as far as the IWM, I think that we're probably going to find some decent support. I'm getting a little bit of a turnaround. But, it could end up being just like, this day right here. You can see we came up to the 200 period, simple moving average, kind of fought around with it for a little bit, and then had a big, nasty red down day, just like we had on Friday, and then you had a big rollover to new lows. I personally don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that we are a little long in the tooth as far as, the overall downtrend, but, it could happen, so we definitely have to keep our eyes open for that. Let's take a look at the USO. This is the oil ETF, and as we can see, we had a little break above that 50-period simple moving average, but then we rolled right back over. I actually got some gas yesterday, and it was $3.89. I couldn't believe that gas had fallen that low. I don't know how much it is where you're at, but that's actually a pretty good price for around here. So. If oil can roll over and break down below this 200 period simple moving average, I don't know, we might be headed towards gas right around 350 or so. But, if that happens, I'll definitely be shocked because oil just looks like it's kind of making a little bit of a rounded bottom right here. But if oil can break above, or if the USO, I should say, can break above $80, I think, the new uptrend is probably going to be intact. But as far as the USO is concerned, still moving sideways, still trying to grind out a little bit of a bottom right here, but I'm just waiting to see if it can hold that 200 period simple moving average if we do end up getting back down to it. Now let's jump over to the VIX. In my last video, I was talking about how when the VIX gets down around this 20 area, the market tends to be at a short-term top, and we did get that move up in the VIX, and actually we're getting this big, nasty move in the VIX right here. That kind of reminds me of this move right here after the consolidation. Had a little bit of a tight consolidation, and then the market rolled over, and I just wonder if we are going to be in that type of situation, and if we're going to end up retesting the highs on the VIX up around the upper to, the mid to upper 30s. And if that happens, probably going to have a pretty nasty move in the market, but it'll present a pretty good opportunity because as long as this channel is around, I am going to continue to get long once the VIX gets up around the upper 30s and trim off a little bit of my stocks when the VIX gets down to the 20s, or the lower, just below 20, I should say. All right, well, let's take a look at some decent looking charts that I see in the market right now. The first one I want to go over is DAO. DAO. And DAO is making a very nice rounded bottom. Jumped above all of these moving averages right here, and it broke above the recent ceiling right around $5.62. So this is one that I will be watching on an intraday basis and just looking to, buy those rounded bottoms if DAO does end up making that, because I really like this pattern. Another one that I really like is the Freak. Let me see if I can get the real one to come up. There we go. There is the Freak right there, making a very nice, I don't know, it's a pretty much a very long-winded triangle consolidation. Had a little bit of a breakout on Thursday, but then Friday it came back down with the market. If it can continue to hold this trend line and start to round up again, I'm going to look to try to buy this one and then, lighten some up once it gets up here to around the 200 period simple moving average. But very nice pattern right there. Next one is CYBN. You look at CYBN, same thing, breaking through that 200, making some very nice flag formations and starting to break out again. So CYBN is, just riding up that 8-period exponential moving average. Once I see patterns like this, I just like to go intraday and, trade the breakouts of the triangles as it's moving up. But CYBN looks very good. Next one is ZVIA. This is a beverage company. I think I've had some of their colas before. I didn't even realize they were publicly traded, but once this one came up on my screen, I looked into it, and I think that's exactly what this company is. But I wasn't very impressed with their soda, but I like their stock chart a heck of a lot more than I like that soda. But ZVIA is holding right around that 200 period simple moving average, and if it can break above $5, call it $5.50, I'm going to look to get long ZVIA. Very nice pattern there. And last but not least is XSPA. Taking a look at this one, we got some nice accumulation going on with XSPA as well. Just having that nice slow grind up. And if it can hold above 98 cents and then start to move higher, I think this one could be getting into the acceleration part of the trend. All right, before I close the video out, I just want to go over the trades that I made last week. The first one that I made was in ETBN. That is the wrong one, ETBN. That is the wrong one as well, ETNB. That's what we're looking for. ETNB, I pretty much just got out of this one because the market was rolling over. I bought into this one right about here. I bought in at $4.81 and actually sold at $5.19 a few days later. I just kind of got out because the market started to roll over, so took a small gain in that one. The next one I traded was VIVK. Talked about this one in my last video, and this one unfortunately didn't work out very well for me. Let me actually go to the 5-minute chart. Back it up a little bit here so we can see exactly where I traded it. I caught this move up here, and as it started to make this rounded bottom right here, I bought in at $1.98. I put my stop at $1.74, and as you can see as I walk this chart forward, came back down, it stops me out right about here, went just a little bit lower, and then this thing screamed. I was watching it thinking that if it got strong again I was going to get back in, but it took off so fast. I was waiting for a little bit more of a pullback, and it just never came. I think this thing just exploded without me. I mean, I could have got out at a very nice profit. Let me see where it ended up at. Still ended up at 209, so it still would have been above where I paid for it, but this one was just a frustrating one. You know, I expected that explosion. Perhaps I put my stop loss in just a little bit too tight, but man, that would have been a nice trade if I would have got back in. And the last one that I ended up trading was drug. If we go back to the daily chart, you can see this one just had a massive move up, and I managed to get out just before Powell opened his mouth, and it was a good thing that I did. But let's go to the 5-minute chart. I'll show you how this one played out and why I bought it. This one showed up on my screen, and it just started moving up. Once they start making these little triangle patterns and moving up, what I like to do is just buy these breakouts. You know, I was talking about those stocks that start taking off. I start watching these on intraday levels, start looking for these type of patterns because they usually are pretty easy to trade if you catch them before they take off. So I actually bought drug at $2.68. So once I saw this one forming right here, I actually took a little bit of a starter position at $2.68 right about here. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. Once it gets over too many lines, it's hard to put them on there again. And then I put another order in, another buy stop order in to buy it if it broke out of this triangle consolidation. I put my order in at 272 actually, and executed at 274. And I ended up selling out at $3.98. So I got really lucky on this one. I think the market might have kind of owed me this trade because of what happened with VIVK, but either way, that one ended up being a pretty good trade. And going back to the daily chart, you can just see all the accumulation that's going on with a stock like this. You know, if you see any pattern like this starting to form, just go intraday and just look for those little triangle patterns, because usually when a stock starts running like this, it'll start making those patterns not only up but down as well. Now with these lower price stocks, you know, it's not as easy to go short or buy, you know, put options, because a lot of these cheaper stocks don't have any options at all, or if they do, you know, they're traded so thinly you probably don't want to be a part of them anyway. But that just ended up being a decent trade. But you know, that's all I have for this video right here, so I'm going to end it. If you guys see any decent looking, you know, charts setting up, make sure you let me know in the comment section. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. But, well, I'm going to end it right here. Thank you so much for watching this one all the way to the end. And until next time, take care, everybody.